Well, hey fans, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Spoilers, and today we're talking spoilers for What If. So, What If is Marvel's first animated foray for the MCU. They did cel shaded animation, and it is based off of the popular comics run What If, where you got these various alternative stories on what would happen if certain Marvel heroes became other Marvel heroes, or if certain events happened differently, yada yada. And that's basically the premise of the show, is so that they can tell these alternative stories based on the MCU without having to spend the budget it would cost to make a movie. Because as you know, animation pretty much has infinite budget in what you want to do with it. So basically, with this spoiler talk, I'm going to go through each episode, break down if I liked it, didn't like it, things I liked, and just things I wish they did better with the overall series. Try to keep this one short and sweet. So the show starts out with the first episode, What If Captain Carter were the first Avenger? And this is a solid episode. It's basically Captain America the first Avenger, except Peggy Carter is now the she takes the super soldier serum and she gets the superpowers, and Steve, he stays skinny. What happens is basically he gets shot and he's unable to get in the chamber, and the lab is being destroyed, so she jumps in his stead. So it's basically the first movie all over again. Pretty enjoyable. The only thing I did not like, as you know, in the normal comics, What if Peggy Carter takes a super soldier serum, she becomes Captain Britain because she is British. She's not American. She's actually a British soldier. In this show, though, she's just Captain Carter, which I don't know if there's kind of rights issue with the Captain Britain name, or if they're planning on introducing the Captain Britain Corps later and they didn't want to do that. But I wish she was just Captain Britain. But the episode looks great. Her fighting style, she's able to do a lot more than what Steve was in his first film, namely because it's an animated show, so they can do whatever they want. And she was a trained soldier before Steve, so she had all this combat uh, stuff. So that was a good episode. The next one was What If T'Challa became Star-Lord? Overall, it's a great episode. He is a better Ravager than Peter Quill ever was, because he was raised as a prince in the nation of Wakanda, and he has learned all these things from his father and from his teachers and how to be a diplomat. So he quells Thanos and does all these other things and makes all these allies throughout the galaxy. And the only thing that I didn't care for about this episode was that it shouldn't be What If T'Challa became Star-Lord. It should have been What If the Ravagers picked up T'Challa instead of Peter Quill, because the name Star-Lord was Peter Quill's mom. That was her nickname for him, because she knew his dad was an alien and she called him her little Star-Lord. So makes perfect sense why he would pick that name for himself. He loves his mom, deeply misses her. T'Challa would not pick the name Star-Lord for himself. So it makes no sense why people would call him that. It just felt off throughout the entire episode. But hearing Chadwick Boseman's voice was very great. He pops up more throughout the season. Too bad we won't get to hear his voice anymore. Hopefully the character comes back in What If and somebody else voices him. Since we won't see him in live action, apparently, we'll see about that. But yeah, it'd be great if they at least kept him in the animated world. But yes, that was a decent episode. The next episode is What If the World Lost Its Mightiest Hero? So this is basically a mystery episode, because as Nick Fury is trying to get the Avengers together, they are all just dying by mysterious circumstances. Like the Hulk explodes. I think Hawkeye just ends up dead. Black Widow's taken out by a mysterious force. Iron Man is poisoned. A lot of things happen. They're trying to figure out what happened. And it turns out in this universe, the change is that at one point, Hope Van Dyne joined S.H.I.E.L.D. in her, just like her father and her mother did before her, but on a mission, she died. So this sent Hank Pym into just total, utter sadness, and he wanted to get revenge on Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. by killing the Avengers, basically. And there's this whole thing that comes about where Loki, because Thor is killed, tries to take over Earth. it was a decent episode, not the best. Now, probably the best episode of the whole show, of this season at least. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? In this what if tale, in the car, Doctor Strange, in the car accident, he does not lose his hands. Instead, Dr. Palmer is with him, and she dies in the car crash. Doctor Strange is totally fine. So he goes through depression, the same gist. He ends up going to Comertage still. Tries to find a way if he can bring her back. And the great thing about this episode is that he finds out her death is an absolute point in time. And even if he goes back and saves her from that car crash, she is fated to die. There's nothing he can do to stop it. And if he does manage to stop it, just destroys his whole timeline. So the Ancient One, realizing he's continuing to try to do this and he's trying to gain more power, she splits him in half. So half of him lives the timeline like normal and doesn't feel like anything's different. The other half uses the time stone to go way back in time and meets a sorcerer named Oban. He's looking for like the Library of Cagliostro or whatever, the guy who created the amulet that holds the time stone. Now it's hinted that Oban is Cagliostro, but it is never, confirmed. But he spends this entire, we don't even know how long, outside of time, absorbing demons, spirits, creatures, absorbing their mana as he brings them through these portals. And he just gets so strong, so strong, so strong, to the point that he can hear the Watcher narrating the show, which will come back into play later. So he does this, finds out that he's still not strong enough, and then Oban tells him, it's because you're only half a man. That's when he realized, the Ancient One split me in two. So he fights normal Doctor Strange, from his timeline, not from our timeline. So he fights him, actually wins, and absorbs and becomes complete. And in doing so, breaks the absolute point in time, saves Christine Palmer. But in doing so, she still manages to die because his whole timeline is destroyed and he's the only one powerful enough to survive it. Which still begs, can you actually break an absolute point in time if she still died anyway or disappeared or whatever happened? But yeah, so in doing so, bam, destroy the timeline. And he tells the Watcher, look, you can stop this. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have did it. And the Watcher just basically yeah, this is your fault. Peace. And leaves him there, which was just messed up. The Watcher could have easily said something and saved him. But the thing that I like about this, breaking the absolute point in time, coming up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I think Wong's going to die. I think Wong's going to die in this film. And that's mainly because Wong is, as you know, in Spider-Man No Way Home, Wong is Sorcerer Supreme because Doctor Strange was blipped and Wong was not. So during that time, Wong was the strongest sorcerer, got the title from Strange. But in the comics, Doctor Strange is Sorcerer Supreme. I don't know if Wong's going to give that title up, but it makes sense that he dies with the title and it goes back to Strange because in the first Doctor Strange film, Wong was killed by Caecilius. Doctor Strange used the Time Stone and reversed his death and brought him back to life. And Mordo said, the bill always comes due. You can't do stuff like this and not expect there to be repercussions. So Wong will die again. It's just, he's fated to not be alive. His death is an absolute point in time. No matter what happens, Wong will die. So, great episode. Totally enjoyed it. He comes back later. So, we'll see. Next episode after that, What If Zombies? Now, basically a take on the Marvel Zombies comic, which a lot of people love. The thing about these zombies that's weird is that they seem to crave human flesh like a normal zombie. It is a quantum realm virus. So when Hank Pym, after Ant-Man 2, goes to save his wife, she was infected with the virus, bites him, yet they somehow still have the brain capacity to travel back to the world and infect everybody. It's a fine episode. It's just, I feel like they should have explained better, what causes like them to keep their superpowers in zombie mode. Like Iron Man's a mindless zombie, yet he still knows how to control the Iron Man armor. Falcon still knows how to use his Falcon technology. Hawkeye's still a perfect marksman. So it's like an interesting aspect. So we'll see how that goes. Apparently, there's going to be a sequel to this episode because it ended with zombie Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet in Wakanda. So we'll see if that appears in season 2. Next episode after that, what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? It was a fine episode. Basically shows that Killmonger will always have that mindset, at least at this point in his life. So a lot of people are wanting a what if Killmonger was brought to Wakanda, which I hope they do in like a future season, if he was brought to Wakanda when he's younger. And we'll see if he still turns out the same. But in this one, saves Tony Stark's life, becomes like his confidant, still plans to take over Wakanda and take over the world and, do whatever he can to make the world better for black people. But yeah, it was a fine episode, and I really enjoyed, the anime aspects of it with him, building the Gundams. So it was pretty good. Now, the next episode, What If Thor Were an Only Child, is the worst episode this season. It was so cartoonish, so silly. Like, and there's like a plot hole at one point, like, every planet Thor goes to, the planet like destroys itself like a couple of days later, and they kind of touch on that, but then it's like forgotten about. I forget if they actually gave her like an answer to what was going on, but basically he was partying on Earth, and then his mom's coming to check on him. It was so silly. And at the end of the episode, like Infinite Ultron shows up, and I feel like the episode should have come after what does come next, which is What If Ultron won. Now, this is the second best episode of the season because it basically shows in Avengers Age of Ultron, if Ultron fully uploaded himself into the Vision body he made for himself, giving him all of Vision's powers, and he's super strong, releases all the nukes, wipes out most human life on Earth, and then Thanos shows up, kills Thanos easily. They nerfed Thanos throughout this whole show just to prove like, all right, we're done with him, on to new villains. But they nerfed Thanos, and he gets the Infinity Stones, and basically now he has the Infinity Stones, he's like, I need to go to other planets and wipe them out. So he just starts wiping out every planet with life in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then at the end, he's bored, but he's all powerful. So, like with Doctor Strange Supreme, when you're all powerful, you can hear the Watcher narrating the show. So he's like, I hear someone. And then the Watcher's like, whoa, alright, let me go over to this corner. But basically, Infinite Ultron realizes, wait, it's a multiverse. I can destroy life in the entire multiverse. Now, this was a great glow up for Ultron. A lot of people didn't like Age of Ultron, and this just made him all powerful. And he ends up becoming the villain by the end of the season. He gets to a fight with the Watcher, which is actually a pretty cool fight. They fight through the multiverse, and just like every time they punch each other, they're in a new reality. So that's great. And going back to his episode, the only people alive are Hawkeye, who has like a Ultron arm, makes him look like the Winter Soldier, and Black Widow. But in the end, Black Widow is the only one who is alive in that timeline on Earth. I think Captain Marvel almost beats him, but he like takes her to the middle of a planet and like causes an explosion, which kills her. So yes, she can be killed. And actually, going back to the worst episode, the Thor episode, Thor and Captain Marvel fight in that episode, and they're shown to be, for the most part, pretty evenly matched, except for I think Thor is actually technically stronger than her, which is very interesting to see, because everybody's been wondering since Avengers Endgame which one of those is stronger. But yeah, I like that fight. But moving back, so since Infinite Ultron is now going through the multiverse to try and kill everybody, the Watcher assembles a crew of people from like pretty much each episode you saw. Not each episode, but most of them. So you get Killmonger, Black Panther, Captain Carter, Doctor Strange Supreme, Black Widow, T'Challa Star-Lord, and Party Thor. Just so whack. But gets them together, they form the Guardians of the Multiverse. They stop Infinite Ultron using Zola. And then, of course, Black Panther Killmonger turns on them, and he's trapped in an infinite fight for the Infinity Stones with the Zola Ultron robot. And actually, I skipped over a part. Gamora is in this team as well. And she basically comes out of nowhere because her episode that she was supposed to appear in, which is What If Tony Stark Went to Sakaar, was scrapped from this season. The season's only 9 episodes. That was supposed to be 9. What If the Watcher Broke His Oath was supposed to be episode 10. But they had to scrap it for some reason, so it'll be in season 2, which now it might seem out of place. But in that, you get to see she somehow takes down Thanos, ends up on Sakaar. Tony Stark's there. He builds a Hulkbuster robot from the scraps there, and they end up destroying the Infinity Stones. But that'll be bumped to season 2 as well. But overall, season's pretty enjoyable. Season 2 hopefully comes out next year. They did say now that Phase 4 is kicked in, you'll get to see some of these characters show up in the show. So we should get the Eternals appearing in an episode. We should get Shang-Chi appearing in an episode. More of those Black Widow characters who for some reason don't show up. But like I said, it's a great cartoon. A good start from Marvel. There is one more thing I didn't like. So at the end, he sends everybody back to their original timeline. Black Widow, since her timeline is pretty much destroyed, she's like, look, I'm not going back. I'll just stay here. There's nothing for me there. And the Watcher's like, well, I can do something for you. And he sends her to the timeline where all the Avengers were killed. Except for, well, in that timeline, Captain America wasn't killed because he was frozen. So it's her, Black Widow, Captain America, Captain Marvel, and I think those are the only Avengers present in that timeline. Out of the people who Nick Fury knew at the time. Of course, more people can join later. But that was fine, but that was the perfect way to bring back Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow in the main MCU. If she walked through that portal and it switched to live action, and then she was in the main MCU in some post-credit scene talking to Yelena or something like that, I thought it would have been fantastic. The show would have been just amazing and would connect to the main movies in a way that's never been done before. But that is it for me, guys. Remember, you can view this spoiler review on YouTube and the blog, flipfrogllc.com/flixfrog. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And please, pretty please, everybody, hey, come here, listen. Make sure that you subscribe. Yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, everything. Make sure you like, comment, and share. The next Let's Talk Spoilers will be Ghostbusters Afterlife. Been meaning to get that one out for a while. So, until next time, I'll be seeing you.